Good morning, student. So welcome to again lecture series on energy study, and we want to continue the module first, that is energy resources and energy scenario. So summary of the last lecture we have to discuss here. What is mean by the energy management and what is mean by the energy strategy. So that energy management which is depends upon the involving the planning of the energy and controlling the demand of the energy and supply of the energy, or increase the productivity as well as the efficiency. So that is with the related with the energy management. And energy strategy which is considered as the how much type of the selection of the area or selection of the courses which is helpful for the alternative followed for the alternative source of the energy, and which is also help for the energy policy makers or the planners, which is also used helpful for how to strategy, how to planning the conservation of the energy and provided for the long time. And this is the very important concept of the security of the energy or the strategy of the energy which is needed for the country to provide or to use the energy sources for the long time. And in this lecture we want to see here the main point, that is the various aspect of the conservation of the energy. So what type of the aspect of the energy conservation? So that is depends on the saving of the usability of the energy, so that is which is directly or otherwise the wasted and has direct impact of the economy of the nation. Okay, and economy of the economy or as well as the effect of the environment and the long term availability of the non-renewable energy resources, because you have to know that the property of non-renewable energy resources, if once time it is used, then it is go in the or it is stop for the uses, and we want to increase the or we want to extract the new energy sources. Okay, and that non-renewable energy sources, so that we want to need the country as well as the human to increase the energy or harvesting the energy on the basis of the renewable energy sources, because non-renewable energy sources is alarming. One day it is the end of the sources, and we have to save for the next future generation. So need to extract the renewable energy sources. So that's why need to energy conservation, and that energy conservation which is implies on the reduction in the energy consumption or reducing the cost of the energy or reducing the losses or the wastage of the employing energy, that efficient means of the generation of the utilization of the energy. So that here need to manage the energy is important. So that depends upon this aspect, that is environmental aspect or usability of the energy or dependency on the non-renewable energy sources, or we have to need to increase the developing sources of the renewable energy, and we have to increase the extraction of the renewable energy. On this factor, that three main aspect of the energy conservation which are listed below, and that in those three aspects, first aspect which is the economic aspect of the energy conservation, or we have to got the clear idea. So that economic aspect has two main points, which is first one is the reduction of the cost of product, and second one which is the opportunity of the new jobs or new job opportunity. So that economical aspect we have considered the first point, that is the reduction in the cost of the product. Okay, and that is directly depends upon the efficiency of the energy sources or the productivity of the energy sources. is what type of the available and how you have to conserve the energy sources, then depends upon the cost of the product which is reduced or which is the increasing. So that cost of product which is further considered as the energy conservation, which is ultimately leads to the economic benefits as the cost of the production which is the reduce. Okay, so that is what the main aspect is. If that the conservation, if you do the conservation, that is directly impact on the production cost which is reduced, and if the production cost which is reduced, then you have to know that is the usability bill of the energy which is also reduced, and that is directly connected with, for example, you have to consider as the in the country that many numbers of the industry which is available, which is the help of the extraction of the primary energy sources or use the primary sources, and processing on these sources we have to need energy, and processing on these primary sources, processing in the secondary immediate sources, processing on these sources or this raw material, we have to get the finalize the final product which is provide or supplied to the or final user. So that consider the industry having steel industry, aluminum industry, cement industry, as well as the fertilizer group and pulps and paper industry, etc. So that cost of the energy forms the significant part that the total cost of the product we must try to hard and good energy economy using the energy efficient technology. So we have to need, so if you want to reduce the cost of the product, so we need to develop the good technology of the energy extraction or good technology industry and good technology equipment we have to develop it. Okay, for example, consider as in the paper industry, so what type of working, so number of trees, okay, and forest which want to cutting or for using of the extract part of these plants or timbers which is used in the industry for the making the paper. Okay, so that depends upon if we use the process of the recycling process of the use of these papers, and the recycling of the papers which is used for the next purpose. So that you have to know that main idea. Two advantages is there: your production cost which is also reduced, and you have to save or you have to conserve the environment. Okay, so that type of the technology you have to need to developing or uses of this type of the technology. That depends upon the how to reduce the cost of the production which is helpful to the conservation of the energy. This is first economical aspect. Second economical aspect which is have the new job opportunity. So what is the concept of the new job opportunity that is considered as? We have to know that at early present time we have to need the much amount of the energy, and that we have to need much amount of energy said that need also need to developing the very efficient technology, very efficient development of the energy extraction, and that efficient energy equipment and replacement of the old inefficient equipment into the new development equipment and technology, and monitoring of the energy conservation that need to the training of the manpower. So that various types of the aspect which is need to the various depends on the work of the doing the work on the various type of technology or developing the new technology which is also efficient or increasing the productivity, that have need the manpower, and that result of the energy conservation which leads to we have to get the result in the new opportunity for the job in this section. Okay, so these are the reducing cost of the product and new job opportunity which is depends on the economical aspect of the conservation of the energy. Next point of the conservation of energy which is main, which is the depends on the environmental aspect. So main point we have to see here the various aspect of the energy conservation. So first aspect is the economical aspect, or next second main aspect which is considered as the environmental aspect. So what point which is including in the environmental aspect, that is considered as the energy generation as well as the energy utilization of the processes which are the effects of the environment, which are effects as the biodiversity, or which is effects as the system. So that depends on time, and this energy generation or the utilization of energy that affects on the environment some entire or either or directly or indirectly process. Okay, so for example consider, so that due to the this aspect, that is the processes of the directly or indirectly processes which is harmful for the environmental, and that is the main effect which is also the degradation of the environment, that depends mainly the type of the primary energy sources, types of the primary energy resources. Or we have to consider, so what type of the primary energy resources, that also you know that the numbers of the primary raw material which is extract from the earth crust material or nature, that depends upon, or if you are increasing the extraction of this raw material or raw resources from the nature, that is directly effect on the nature. So that also during the energy conservation stage, it is the part of the aspect of the energy conservation. So that is what is mean by the environmental aspect, that is energy type of the energy. So that consider as the every type of the energy, which is every type of energy generation or utilization process. Generation or utilization process affects the environment, affects the environment, which is some extent either directly or indirectly processes on raw material. Okay, so that raw material which is also take or extract in the nature or the environment, and directly this is excessive use of the raw material or excessive extraction of the raw material which is extract from the environment, that is directly effect of the environment surrounding, and also in the appears the if we for example consider the paper industry, that large amount of the trees, cutting trees or forest cutting part which is used in the paper industry, and that why lead to cause the deforestation, and if leads to cause the deforestation, which is also the increasing the heat or temperature of the earth environment or the system biodiversity, and thus which is energy generate and utilize is the expense of the adverse environmental impact, and that the adoption of the energy conservation means the minimize the damage. So that is one also important aspect. So that is the environmental aspect. So that is considered as, so that is meaning simply as we have to need the extraction of the energy, we have to use as the raw material which is also available in the nature. So that is the excessive use of this raw material that directly affect on the environment. Okay, that is for example heating of the earth atmosphere or the deforestation or pollution etc., that is the environmental impact. And if we increasing the facility, or if we want to reduce the pollution, if you want to reduce the causes of the environment, so you want to develop the new technology or very good technology to extract the energy, and we have to need the energy sources also use the renewable energy sources that are the less hazardous or less impact or less harmful effect on the earth environment. So this is the main second aspect of the environment. And next one is the depletion of the non-renewable energy resources. Depletion of the non-renewable energy resources, third main point. Is depletion of non-renewable energy resources. So what is mean by the depletion of the non-renewable energy resources? That is considered as at the present times, that is very vast bulk of the energy which is used in the world, and today this energy which is derived from the fossil fuel, and that is fossil fuel or oil or which is gases, which are considered as the non-renewable energy sources, and these resources were laid down the millions years ago, and these finite storages of the this type of the fossil fuel or as well as the non-renewable energy sources, and that finite non-renewable asset to be used is the very fast, and that leads, so for the world community uses the quantity of the fossil fuel which is the earth took the thousands years to the create. So that is mean by, so simply say that at the present times, so whole country or whole world or many population which is also depends on the energy use the non-renewable energy such like fossil fuel, and the generation of this fossil fuel energy in the earth environment or in the system, we have to need the thousands year to produce the new fossil fuel energy, and if we depends on this energy, so that is directly cause the depletion of this non-renewable energy, and we have to need this conserve these types of the energy, and that's why we have considered as to control your demand of the energy or use the fossil fuel use the renewable energy sources, which is the increasing the uses of the renewable energy sources, and that the help to need the energy utilization and the conserve the resources all means of the future generation, or need to this non-renewable energy sources we have to need to conserve, and these resources is useful for the next future generation. So these are the three main aspect of the energy conservation which is considered as first one is the economical aspect. That economical aspect which is considered as two main points, that is reduce the cost of the production and new job opportunity. Second one is the environmental aspect, and third one which is the depletion of the non-renewable energy resources. Okay, and so these are the aspect. And next point which is the principles of the energy conservation. This point we want to see in the next lecture, but we have considered here the general idea what is meant by the principle of the energy conservation. And that general principle of the energy conservation is such as the recycling waste, as well as the modernization of the technology we have to need, and waste heat utilization, and proper housekeeping, or some judicial use of the proper type of the fuel, cogeneration, adopting the daylight saving time. So this type of the usability of the energy, and we have to need the energy conservation. So that points are the principles of the energy conservation. That is the directly idea, which is directly idea to connect the energy management or energy conservation, and we have to need to increase the utilization of the energy, or to conserve the energy, or to control the demand of the energy, and we have to use the present type of the fossil fuel energy, fossil fuel usability of the fossil fuel energy. We have to need to use the alternative source of the other types of the energy, that is renewable energy, such as solar energy, biomass energy, tidal energy. That type of energy we have to need to use to extraction of the energy or use of the energy. So thanking of you.